Hey everybody, thanks for listening and your support for Positive Connections Radio and our new series, Halt and Call for Backup, Coast to Coast with Mike Koch and Jim McLintock. We both specialize in counseling first responders and the development of peer support. We talk about emotional regulation, coping skills, self-awareness, and the ability to take a step back, reload, and relaunch. Survival skills, tools, education, life balance, and most important, talking about the truth behind the badge. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready for takeoff. So
Mike,
nice to see you. We're bringing this up all of a sudden, and I love it.
Halt and call for backup.
That's right.
And hey, I want to take a moment to thank all the folks that are texting me, emailing me all around this great United States from so many different police departments, sheriff departments, and paramedic departments. It's always great to hear from y'all.
Definitely. I know. I love getting those emails and messages. And I'll leave my phone number again, too. It is 760-224-6631, PositiveConnectionsRadio@gmail.com or www.positiveconnectionsradio.com. It takes you right to the site. And Jim, give them your information again.
Hey, everybody. So I'm Jim McLintock, former police officer, FTO, Senior Master Advanced Post,
Nice.
Beach Lifeguard, EMT supervisor. Now I'm
Do you dance?
Clinical psych, licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California, and coach throughout the rest of the planet. I specialize in working with police, fire, military, dispatchers, everybody in the first responder industry. My confidential cell, 760-212-0444. Again, 760-212-0444. You can email me at 911therapy@gmail.com. You can find me at McLintockCounseling.com.
Yeah, we both work with first responders all around the country. This is Positive Connections Radio. Halt and call for backup. This is Coast to Coast with Mike Koch and Jim McLintock. And today, our title is Calling Out the Rookies.
Let's call them out, Mike.
Let's call them out,
Let's call
buddy.
out the rookies.
What is up with that? You're thinking about becoming a police officer. You are you're not really sure what are the pros and cons, and we'll go all over that stuff. It's the first year can be definitely challenging, but I'm telling you what, it was probably the best year of my life as a police officer.
It's an amazing profession. It's getting, Mike and I were talking earlier, of course, everybody knows it's can get some bad rap. There can be a lot of negativity circling around about law enforcement, fire service, paramedic, and dispatchers and all. But we may dive into some of the negativities, but I promise you this, we know the roadway through this. We know the roadmap out. We know how to land this thing on a positive note. And so we're going to get there. So hang in there with us. And a special shout out to all the agencies out there that are listening to us as part of their briefing rooms and continuing education training. So it's great to have you all on board and keep spreading the word. You know, Mike, becoming a police officer, I wrote an article a number of years ago about, when you start down this road to becoming a deputy sheriff, a police officer, paramedic, firefighter, you're generally speaking on your A game. And by that, I mean, you're working out hard. You know what the academy's coming up. You know what's going to be physically challenging, mentally challenging, emotionally challenging, and how you tend to prepare yourself going in, staying in shape, eating the right foods, getting the rest you need, and really taking yourself to the limit when it comes to your training and education.
Exactly. And take it back also, maybe ask yourself a question, why do I want to be a police officer? What's driving me? Am I family line? Is my family are in law enforcement or not? First responder related fields? But why am I actually doing it? And do I really know what I'm getting into?
Right. Most people that get into first responder professions have a boatload of empathy. Maybe more empathy than allowed by law. I know I have it. I know Mike has it. And I know that most of the folks that I talk to and have worked with have more empathy. And as a result, having huger hearts, want to help other people, want to be of service. Yeah, they want to get a good paycheck. Yeah, they want to get benefits, and that's all well and good too. But most folks are going in because they want to help people. When you want to help somebody, I'm always like using personal stories about my life and what has helped me and what has not helped me so much, and if you're a beach lifeguard and you're going out on a rescue, you got to take care of yourself first. You can't drown on the way out.
Exactly. And a lot of us between the ages of 21, 28 years old, we first get into it. Yeah, I felt that I was pretty much invincible. I knew exactly I wasn't. However, I felt that I was able to take care of any situation. And getting into this field, it does take a higher level of acuity, meaning that you're able to digest this emotion, you digest these situations and the culture out there right now to actually be the best police officer that you possibly can and also have life balance.
Absolutely. And that's it's a tough balance, or it can be thought of as a tough balance, my work balance. The work and I think, Mike, we have the cost benefit analysis prepared to kind of lean into these things. But like those folks that are wanting to get into the first responder industries, take your fitness and your life health balance seriously and start negotiating that before you even get into the academy.
High stress situations, sometimes daily, depends what department you're working at. But what do you do with that? I mean, you have a buildup of cortisol. You are lots of highs, dropping down to lows, and you want to maintain that balance. You're always on alert, right? You're always in the yellow. You're never in the green. And balancing that in home life, everything else. But I'll get into the cost benefit analysis. This is a cognitive behavioral tool that we do use in training, and we use in therapy also with first responders and others too. But it's a cost benefit analysis where it's a little bit more advanced than just the pros and cons. It's actually separated into 4 boxes. If we pose a question, I want to become a police officer. I want to get into the first responder field in some manner. So the cost benefit analysis would be the best things that will happen if you do, the best things that will happen if you don't, the worst things that will happen if you do, and the worst things that could happen if you don't. So we'll start with the upper left box, and the best things that can happen to be a police officer. Number 1, let's name some off here. Number 1 is what? Public trust. You got the public trust. You have financial stability, security, amazing teammates and friends, lifelong friends. You have a family. You have a mission. You have a passion to help other people. You're trusted to do the things out there, and you're giving the authority to actually change people's lives in a positive. Take the bad guys off the street and protect the ones out there that are getting victimized. Pride and having some kind of purpose in life.
There's no better feeling, Mike, for me than to help somebody else. It just is in my DNA from my lifeguard days, my EMT days, and my police officer days. The ability to, I'll just use this kind of visual, go screaming through the night with lights and siren to help a complete stranger who's calling 911 is just an amazing feeling.
What a great feeling that is. It is. And how are you able to do that, though? I mean, when your tank is running low and you're still out there required to help other people, stepping back and looking at yourself can be the most difficult thing to do because you're under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress. There's lots of reports. There's lots of requirements. There's lots of rules and regulations, more and more every single year that's put into place. And it causes a lot of stress. And how do we deal with that so we can be there for another person? Mm-hmm. When I look at helping somebody, no matter what's going on in my life, I know right now I'm in recovery. I woke up sober again, days in a row. I was positive this morning. I meditated. I started my day off in a positive. And that's how I balance my day. Even though things might turn to shit really quick in my life, if someone reaches out to me and I'm there for them, afterwards, after I am there for that person, I feel a sense of accomplishment no matter what my life is going, what's going on in my life. And so to be there for another person, I have to maintain that balance. And how do we get there?
And that's being of service to others is a wonderful experience. I believe it's what we're put here on the planet for. And it's also the fastest way to get your mood to change.
Exactly. And I know Jim said earlier that there's a lot of positive, but there's a lot of negatives involved in all this too. And you have to weigh it out, make the decision, talk to people, talk to us, email us, call us, let us know what's going on.
I just love the fact we can be there for others. We can be there for our partners. We provide for our families, we provide for our future.
Right.
We, like you talked about, which is really important. And in a couple of seconds, rookies, this pendulum's going to swing the other way.
Yep.
We have the public trust, and that should be a big deal for everybody. It means that you as a paramedic, you as a firefighter, you as an engineer, you as a dispatcher, you as a deputy sheriff, you as a police officer, and all the ranks up and down from rookie to your last day on this job, you have the public trust. You get to stand out on a street corner with your gun and badge and patches, or your fire equipment or your paramedic equipment, or driving through the night, lights and sirens on, and the public trusts you to do things right and to do the right things. And that is an amazing feeling. And we can get lax with that. Oh, that's our job. I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been doing it for 20 years. It's when you lose that edge, when you lose that lens that you're looking through, that, hey, this is a privilege to have this job. I was chosen to have this job. Not everybody on the planet can be a firefighter, can be a paramedic, can be a dispatcher, can be a police officer, deputy sheriff. You're in the top 1% of a whole lot of people. Don't forget that when you're out there. You have the public trust. Do things right, do the right things. The friendships you're going to make, lifelong friendships you're going to make. You're going to save people's lives. You're going to save your partner's life.
Another term I like to use too, by listening to you say that, is you get in the job for a while and you get that burnout. They usually say 5 to 7 years, you start feeling that burnout. What they teach you in the academy, what they teach you in the field, your training officers should be teaching this all the time. It should be the first thing in your mind is complacency kills. When I get complacent, I let down my guard. I start going from the yellow to the green. I'm sitting in my car. I'm going up the scenes. I'm not following procedures. I'm not following my training. I'm not taking it as serious as I once did. And possibly I feel like I'm more confident than I was, of course, when I first started. I'm not a rookie anymore. I might be a training officer, a field training officer. I might be a sergeant. I might not, go to all those hot calls anymore, but I cannot be complacent, because complacency will kill me.
Absolutely. We knew this job. If you don't know, we're going to tell you right now, this job is dangerous when you took it. How do we know that? Well, not just because the potential dangers you're going to encounter, but also the life expectancy of folks as first responders after a 20 to 30 year career is 3 to 5 years after you retire, because of the stress.
That's a fact.
Because of the violence, because of the divorces, because of the financial issues, because of the chronic health issues that you've developed. And so when Mike talks about complacency, it's bigger than just officer safety tactics. It's bigger than just paramedic safety tactics. Complacency. Hey, are you working out? You worked out. Hey, rookies, you worked out. You worked your butts off to get into the academy, to get hired. You worked your butts off physically, mentally, emotionally. You pass the psych exams, which aren't easy to pass. They're weeding people out. Have you gotten complacent with your diet, with your workout protocols, with your biology, your psychology, your sociology, your spiritualness?
What are your tools? Are you using the tools of Bud Light or Coors Light to get through it? You think that your drinking career is gonna remain the same when you retire? No, it's gonna open up the floodgates and things. Yeah. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen, and it's no joke. A lot
Raise
of
your
us.
hands out. Raise your hands out there. Let's see a show of hands. Who's gotten addicted to pornography?
Ooh, that's
Who's
a good
gotten
topic.
addicted to using their anger to solve situations or to
Right.
regulate their emotions? Who's gotten used to isolating and not talking about things? Who stopped working out? Who's eating like a slob and stopping at every McDonald's that they can?
Yeah. We're out there in the field. We have to have compliance. We're doing our jobs right. The public is trusting us. We have to take care of business. If we have to take someone to jail, sometimes we have to take them down to the ground. We have to use an arm bar them, put them in cuffs, and take them to the ground. Sometimes we get in fights. Sometimes we get in chases. Sometimes we get in accidents. And a lot of times we lose them. And what are we doing? Are we taking that home? Are we using that aggression on our family and our kids and not even realizing it? But let's move on, and the porn addiction too. Look at your life. Are you gambling more than you did before? With social media and the internet now, it's so easy to sit in your room, sit in your squad car, and pull up some kind of poker thing or whatever, and put money on it, and spend half your hours doing that. So
How many hours are you spending on social media?
yeah,
Versus you need to get up and go work out. You need to go spend time with your family. You need to go call a counselor because you're going through something. You need to check in with your parents. You need to check in with other things.
What do they call that? What do they call that? I was looking at something today, and I started like going through the videos, and I caught myself in it. 10, 15 minutes later, I'm watching these videos, and I would never have watched unless I, swiped up on my phone. And I just stopped, and I don't need to watch this stuff anymore. It's funny as hell, but I need to get my day going. Let's move over the best things so that was the best do and a little bit more. The best don't. The best things that will happen if I don't become a police officer or first responder.
I think what first comes to my mind is, I'll use a story back when I was in the academy. One day we were getting ready to go to the range, and we're having a whole talk on the potential for using deadly force in this job. And they asked the question, who in this room thinks they can shoot another human being? The potential to take the life of another human being. Not that you're trying to,
right?
You're trying to stop the situation, but sometimes bullets don't have a mind of their own, and they go in some interesting directions, or our aim is off, or whatever's going on. Who in this room can take the life of another? And if you don't think you can, you should think seriously about not being in this career. And that's the point is, if you don't go in this career, the best thing that could happen is you won't take a life. Hopefully none of you rookies out there will ever have to draw your gun, but the chances of that are remote.
I like rookie. I like the word rookies. Do we still use that? I mean, I remember the TV show, The Rookies. I love that one. Do they say rookies? I would call them rookies still. Is
they
that
called me
correct?
Rookie. They called me boot. They called me everything, right? Some words that I can't say on the podcast.
Oh, I bet.
That's the kind of, we don't like the bullying thing, but that's like that's actually a fun part of the job if it's done right.
Of course.
Is the playful analogies that your teammates will have.
And they got to test you too. They got to make sure that you're right for the job. If you're not willing to do whatever it takes and you're sitting there playing your video games, and I'm telling you what, I don't want you backing me up. I know what you're going to be doing when I'm calling for code 3 cover. I don't know what you're going to be doing, but I used to make sure I was on that radio. I heard someone making a traffic stop. I just turn my car around and start heading that direction, because more times than not, they call for a second unit, or it was my partner. I knew the sound of his voice or her voice. Yeah. I'd rush up there, and I'm not doing anything anyway. Why not?
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's funny. I would go by, even if it was a code 4 situation, I like the bad guys, or if they're not bad guys, the citizens that are being pulled over, to think twice. Hey, there's another black and white going by. Hey, right. There's another black and white that it was always me. I would circle around. If it was there, I had nothing to do. I'd circle around. I'd park across the street. I'd move to another location just so that people would go, man, there's like 10 cars around me.
Yeah. Yeah. I miss that. I really miss that part of police work. Yeah. Well, let's go. The best don't. So number 2, maybe, or number 1, depends what you're looking at, but you might live longer. You might find a job that, maybe a more fulfilling job. I mean, it's a lot of stress. It's a great family environment, team environment. You get to hear things normal people don't. I shouldn't say normal people. The general public doesn't get to hear. you have a lot of top secret information, basically. You have stuff that doesn't need to get out to the media for safety reasons or concerns. But you might find a more fulfilling job somewhere and live a happy life, have a great marriage, have your children, have your houses, all that kind of stuff. And maybe not get a divorce, maybe get a divorce. I don't know.
Even you folks that are currently in the profession, or you rookies that are currently in the profession, are thinking, you know what, this job isn't for me. Then take a step back, reload and relaunch, and go find the job that you love to do and get paid for it. Nothing wrong with quitting a job. I've quit several jobs in my life. I've quit a lot of things in my life. Sometimes I gave proper notice. Sometimes I said, you know what, this is killing me. I'm out. Thank God it's an at-will job.
Yep. You might not get PTS. You might not get depression. You might not get in trouble. You might not get sued. Those are a lot of different things. You might stay healthier. Yeah. A lot of us, we're working in these swing shifts, 12-hour shifts. It's great for days off, but what are you doing in your days off? Are you recuperating the first day? I remember doing that, at least the majority part of the first day.
Right. You might not work graveyards or midnights or overnights, whatever they're calling them these days.
Right.
You might not ever go to court. You might not ever get shot at. You might not ever get into a fight. You might, like Mike was saying, not go through a divorce, a separation. You for sure won't give your family a lot of stress worrying about you being a police officer.
Exactly. Lots of stress involved in it with everybody involved, yourself, but your family members that worry about you every single day. So we got the best things that could happen if you don't. Oh, we didn't mention getting killed, getting shot at, nice. Getting ridiculed, getting attacked. So that might be the best things if you don't become a police officer. Let's move down to the worst things that can happen if you do become a police officer.
You know, Mike, you just nailed a couple of them. The worst thing that can happen is you die.
Yep.
You die today, rookies.
Yes.
Or you watch a partner, a coworker die today.
Yes.
Or you lose the public trust and you find yourself in an internal affairs investigation, in an HR investigation. You find yourself going through a Skelly hearing. You find yourself not having the job anymore. Oh, now what do I do? How's my resume going to look now?
Yep. You lose the public trust. The family, your family members, some of them won't talk to you.
Right. Some of them don't want you to be a police officer, not because they're afraid, because they just don't like law enforcement. They don't like public safety.
Yep. Getting shot at. It's the worst things that could happen, will happen to a lot of us out there. You know, getting divorced, separation, of course, getting disciplined, getting fired. That could happen if you do become a police officer.
Some of the worst things that happen are getting forced overtime, mandatories.
Yeah.
And that's another part of, you knew the job was dangerous when you took it. You signed a contract. Do they still have those contracts where law enforcement won't go on strike? I've not followed that for a while.
Yeah, that's still a thing. The blue flu type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I believe they're not able to do that. They do it in their own way, I'm sure, to revolt, of course, especially with the vaccinations and everything like that.
Right.
But there's another thing, the worst thing can happen if you do become a police officer. You will likely go to calls that are extraordinary, horrific, tragic, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, undescribable to anybody else that doesn't work in the field, that would understand the anguish that you will see out there. The suicides, the child deaths, the suicides of friends, the injuries, the neglect, taking children to mental health centers, taking children away from their families, calling families, death notifications, going to an autopsy, lots of those things. You can suffer trauma. They call it the big T's and little T's, big traumas and little traumas, the cumulative trauma over a career. The career could be 5, 10, 15 years, 30 years, but it might not be one specific incident, but over and over and over again. You can get numb to death and destruction. You could get numb to violence and Maybe switch where you think more people are good in this world, and it might turn out that you think that most people are bad in this world. That definitely triggers some things where you might have to look at yourself, and maybe this isn't the career for you, but there's a way out. There is always a way out if you're willing to be vulnerable, raise your hand, and ask for help. Help is available. Yeah, there might be ridicule from your department. There might be, poking and, making fun of you. Whatever you might think that's going to happen, it probably won't happen. Getting help is the key.
You have to be aware going into these professions that you are going to have stressful reactions to your chronic exposure to emergency calls or chronic exposure to being blindsided. You're minding your own business, and there's a car crash next to you. You're minding your own business, and suddenly there's shots fired and there's dead bodies around you. You've got to be aware that when you're exposed to emergency calls that can stick with you, these calls that can be distressing, emotionally upsetting, traumatizing. And the more we confront these stressful events, the more our stress reaction, our fight, flight, or freeze can be triggered. And to Mike's point, back in my dad's day, and even in our day, in our public safety careers, my dad was World War II and Korean War Marine, stationed in the Pacific, stationed in Korea. And a lot of folks can relate with this because I hear these stories all the time. That generation didn't talk. My dad never told a war story. And the one time he tried to tell a war story, he broke down in tears, and my dad never cried. And he just walked away. My brother had the opportunity to go to some island in the Pacific. I can't remember exactly where it was. It was where the wars were occurring at. He brought home pictures, and he asked my dad, "Hey, Dad, would you like to see these photos of that war zone, how it looks today?" And my dad said, "No, I've been there. I've seen enough of that."
Yeah.
And if we can get to this place, and we are getting there slowly but surely, we turn the corner. It makes sense not to talk about things. It makes sense not to want to disturb somebody else with the images, the smells, the sounds, the sights that you've endured.
Right.
But if you pick the right people that can help you with that, that's actually the place to go. You want to start talking about these things. You want to get rid of these stories within you. You want to learn how to deal with, in a healthy way, the insanity that this job can drop in front of you sometimes.
Exactly. Can you share with us the story about your mom and dad and your first day on the force, or when you first got your badge?
Yeah, Mike and I were talking about this earlier, and I never forgot. I went to the police academy, worked my butt off to get there. I was lucky enough to be a swimmer, so I was always working out and staying in shape. And so the day came when I finally graduated from the academy, and my family was there, my friends were there. My dad walked up to me, and my dad and I, because of his being stationed at Camp Pendleton and being raised in the military family that I was and my brother was, my dad taught me how to salute. He taught me how to salute the proper way, and we practiced together when I was a little kid. And it was amazing to me. And so fast forward to when I'm graduating from the police academy, and my dad comes walking up, beaming, smiling, and he stands and he faces off me and he gives me a salute. And I give the salute right back to my dad. And it was just beautiful. And we hugged each other. My mom was reaching out and touching the patch on my uniform sleeve. And she was looking at my uniform, wearing your Sam Brown, wearing your gun, of course, with no bullets in it, but just wearing the uniform. And my mom touched my shoulder and she started crying. And it wasn't happy tears. It was frightening, sad tears. My mom had lost her brother at 19 years old in World War II. My mom went through World War II and the Korean War with my dad. And now her son is going to be a police officer. And she was scared to death.
Oh, man.
And that was something that I've never forgotten,
Of course.
And I actually dedicated myself The very first class I took, when the time came for me to get my post class, I went to a really amazing course that was offered up in Santa Maria, California. It was a officer tactics and survival school for like a week. Best thing ever. Best thing ever. Really taught me to raise the bar on how to contact people and shooting situations and all those kinds of officer survival things. But I dedicated to myself. I go, you know what? I'm not going to allow my mom and dad to come to a funeral. That ain't going to happen. Right. I'm going to do what I can to survive this job mentally, physically, emotionally.
You did. And you were a good cop too. You think that helped you a little bit thinking about that, getting out of the police field and becoming a therapist?
Well, I'll tell you, that's an interesting story too, because, and listen up, rookies, I thought I had it figured out. I was a lifeguard still. I was on a 312 plan, so my 4 days off, I was beach lifeguarding it, playing beach volleyball. Like we talked before, Mike, I didn't go to a lot of police officer parties. I just loved my beach friends. That's what I grew up on.
Right.
That's where I just loved life at the most. And my 3 days a week was being a police officer, really busy town. And when I left the job, and like I said, I thought I had it all figured out. I had what I thought was the best work-life balance.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing at the beach. I'm working out, I'm staying in shape. Still, when I left that job to go back to school, it took me at least 6 months to calm down. And I thought I was the most mellow, chill person on the planet.
Right.
And I thought, oh my God, I've got to get my uniform. No, I don't. I don't have to do uniform anymore. Where's my subpoenas at? I got to go to court. No, you don't. You don't have to go to court anymore. You know, you're at this pace from the academy on to have, okay, I'm going to curse, Mike. I'll use the shit word because you use it.
I do.
Get your shit together, rookies. You got to be on your A game, and you take that with you through your career. It took me about 6 months to kind of wind down from that. I actually went to a counselor. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm going back to school and I just feel so much stress right now.
Yeah.
I left this career that I thought I had figured out,
right.
My stress level is up to here.
And what do you do after leaving the force? If you're 5, 10, 15, 33 years on it, the losing your identity. And we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about that in another show, because we could spend a whole 3 hours on talking about that, and it's really a huge topic. But
it's a good point to bring up right now, because the rookies that are listening to this, don't make this career your identity.
Right. Start thinking about your future.
Absolutely. Think about how do you want to carry yourself in life? How do you want to do life? Are you in a relationship? Foster that relationship. Are you a dad? Are you a mom? Be a dad, be a mom. Are you church going? Go to church. Do you have friends? Great. Keep your friends. Make more friends.
Right.
If you don't have any
keep your friends.
Yeah. If you don't have any friends, find out why you don't have any friends.
Yeah. Yep. Don't get, or you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying, it's healthier if you have relationships that you had before you were a police officer. It's easy just to switch into the police mode, and that's your family. No one understands me, and pretty soon all your friends are going their own direction. You lose track of them. So, and be prepared also, like we're talking about work-life balance. You get hurt or injured in 3 years, and you have to medically retire. Now what are you going to do? Something happens where you just can't do this anymore at year 7. What are you going to do? What is your backup plan? What's your plan B? Yeah.
Educate yourself.
Start thinking about it.
Stay involved with your hobbies. What do you want to do that you've never done before? And if you don't know what that is, start talking to a counselor that can help you with that. One of the funnest parts, is that a word, funnest?
Yeah,
one of the funnest parts of my job is that I love helping police, fire, military dispatchers who have either lost their jobs, are leaving their jobs, are retiring, find what they're going to do in their next season. A lot of my clients are retiring 45, 50 years old, and they are young still.
Yep.
And they aren't done yet, but they don't know what to do. So I give them the Myers-Briggs test, and then I have a book that associates careers with the Myers-Briggs test. A real quick story. There was 2 guys that came to me, and they wanted to change their careers from law enforcement. One was military, one was law enforcement, and they didn't know what they wanted to do. So I gave them the Myers-Briggs test. I associated their results with this career book. And these two guys, and they didn't know each other. They were so separate appointments. I was reading them the results of potential careers they would consider. And on each of them, there was a career, and I almost didn't read it because I thought these big buff guys aren't going to do this. And I thought to myself, that's not my job. My job isn't to filter this. My job is to present all the careers that are in this book and see what happens. And so I said, Mike, how would you feel about being a captain of a ship? And each one of these guys sat back as if the heavens opened up. I always wanted to have my own fishing boat, was one guy.
Yeah.
And he went out and got his own fishing boat and got his captain's license. And the other guy, I've always wanted to be a scuba diver on one of those recreation boats that takes people out on vacations. And that's what he went and did. And I sat back and I went, man, this is awesome. Yeah. I'm so thankful I pushed past my own stuff and read out, ship's captain.
Exactly. And think about the future. You're young, you're fit. I get it. I was there once too. You have a lot of passion. You can take care of it. You can take care of anybody, any situation. Think about therapy. Think about therapy now. Maybe get therapy now. Talk to someone. Start opening up now, even before you get into the field. Because I'm telling you, it'll be a lot easier after the first month, after the first 6 months or year, to give your therapist or counselor, spiritual advisor, whoever it is, group, get into some groups. If it's just first responders or not, get into some groups that you can bounce things off of and process. Start opening up to your family more, your brothers and sisters, your biological ones also, and start talking about things now, because down the road, you'll be more apt to reach out and saying, I've been to a therapy appointment before. I know what it's about. I've been to these meetings before. It's not as scary as a lot of people say it is. So let's keep on moving down so we have the best if you don't do, the best if you don't, the worst things that will happen or could happen if you do, and now the worst things that could happen if you don't be a police officer.
One of the worst things that could happen is you may never know.
You might never know.
You might never know. You know what? I have the option to be a firefighter, to be a paramedic, to be a police officer, to be a dispatcher. I took the test. I want to take the test, and I didn't do it.
No.
For whatever the reasons are, I didn't do it. You may never know.
The woulda, coulda, shouldas of life.
Yeah. And to brace for that, every time you're doing life, you're going to look around because, the welcome to the planet, you're going to hear sirens and see red lights and blue lights flashing everywhere at times. And you're going to have to kind of live with that. So get good with that.
Yep. Might get stuck in a job that you don't like. You might be unfulfilled, and looking back in life, you're 20, 25 now and start a career in Bitcoin, God forbid, or whatever it is, and you're 35 looking at your life going, you know what? How did I get here? How did I get here? Where is my life? I had the opportunity to do something else. I wanted to do this. So you might have regrets. What else? You won't get to experience. This is one great thing that I really do miss about being a police officer. Getting to experience the gratitude and the love from citizens out there that you go and help. They see your police car, lights and sirens. You get out, you help them out in whatever capacity, whether it's a barking dog complaint, a loud party, or a prowler in their backyard trying to get in their back of their house. And their sense of relief that you are there and they feel protected. That is one of the most gratifying things I remember of being a police officer. You get to be there for people and help them and truly do good work. There's a lot of stuff out there that we don't like doing, traffic control and going to court and answering subpoenas, or staying at accident scenes, waiting 4 hours with a dead body in an apartment for waiting for the coroner to come and check it out, and you're left there alone as a new boot. You're standing in there guarding the body. There's a lot of things that aren't pleasurable. However, there's so much more things that are positive I could think of as long as my life is in balance.
If you don't take this career on, you'll never know what it's like to work on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. You'll never know what it's like to work on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Forget your holidays the first 5 years, folks.
You'll never know what it's like to not answer. We have cell phones now. We didn't have them back at the beginning back in my day. You'd pick up the phone and answer it. Oh, okay, Jim, you picked it up. This is Sergeant so-and-so. I'm just mandatorying you in. You don't get to experience those kinds of moments in time, but it's the career, the pendulum can go both ways, folks. And when Mike was talking earlier about think about counseling, I'm not here to promote making an appointment with me or making an appointment with Mike. You can talk to your family, you can talk to your trusted friends, trusted family about things and maybe get the same kind of advice that would help you. I'm saying that if the research and statistics show that there is going to be a higher divorce rate, a higher domestic violence rate, a higher anger rate, a higher depression rate, a higher anxiety rate, a higher panic disorder rate, a higher post-traumatic stress, and I know I'm missing a bunch of stuff right here, couples issues, raising children issues, blended family issues. Why would you not consider going and talking to someone who is well trained in these areas so that you can hit the ground with your feet running? You know what? The research says these are the things that I have a strong potential to go through. Why don't I get some education in how to do these things?
Right.
The premarital counseling, the pre-relational counseling. How do we problem solve? How do we communicate? How do we handle stress? How do we handle children?
Yeah.
How do we handle our parents, our in-laws? How do we handle the family?
And the worst if you don't. I mean, yeah, you get into the job and maybe it's not for you. They have the courage to say, I need to move on to something else and figure out my life. So, we got it. So in the cost benefit analysis, Jim, what we have is a way to look on it. So look at it and make a decision about what looks best for you. You have all the pros and cons, 4 different boxes of it. So we have the best if we do, best if we don't, worst if we do, and worst if we don't. And you picked a hot topic on each little box. So the best if I do, what is it? If it's financial security, I got to help people. That's great. The best if I don't, well, the chances are I might live longer. I find a more fulfilling job. Worst if I do, well, I might get divorced. I might get killed. I might leave my family. I might get critically injured where my life will never be the same again and I'll be in a wheelchair. It happens, folks. I might get injured where I'll never be able to be a police officer or any other first responder the rest of my life because of my injury. I might get mental health issues. I might get a TBI where I can't be a police officer anymore. I might develop PTS. So, and then the worst if you don't, I might get stuck in a job forever unfulfilled, or I might never know what it's like to be a police officer. So it's a tool. It's one of the tools we put in our toolbox. And we could start that early on in your career. And even if the guys and girls listening been on there for a while, you can still go back and look at this. And you could also use this cost benefit analysis on anything in life, your right. Basic decisions.
Yeah. And, rookies, this is a great tool to use. Should I accept this promotion?
Yes.
Should I advance in this department? Should I leave this department? Should I transfer someplace else? Should I marry that guy? Should I marry that girl? Should I be in a relationship with these people? Should I get a dog? All these things can be used, in this way with a cost benefit analysis.
Yeah. A lot of us, after a year, 3, 4, 5, we want to be training officers. We want to be part of the peer support team. We want to help other guys and girls out there to get better. Make sure you're okay. Make sure you're okay. I deal with a lot of first responders. They come straight from peer support. One of their first words is, I started our peer support team. Yeah, and what happened? I gave advice, but I couldn't take it. I didn't look at my life. My life was going down the toilet. and I was helping other people, and I hated every minute of it because I knew I was living a lie. So be very careful about that. Not saying don't get into peer support, but make sure you're solid first. When you have your own recovery program, maybe you're not having any issues with drugs, alcohol, porn, sex, violence, whatever yet. Maybe you don't have that kind of stuff, but start thinking about it now. Start making your own program and living your life. Have your integrity intact. Keep that integrity. Once you lose it, man, oh man, it's tough to get back, believe me. But here's San Diego PD bringing it up on the website, benefits for being a San Diego police officer. Lots of good things, 4-day work week, 11 paid holidays per year, 13 to 21 days paid annual leave per year, depending on your length of service. You get a yearly uniform allowance of $900. I think I got like 5 or 6. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but $900. Flexible benefit plans, health, dental, vision. Most departments, this department I know has a great plan for that. Retirement program, 3% at 55, 401k, tuition reimbursement, $2,000 a year. Folks, use that. Get in there. You can go back to school. Go back to school. One things I wish I would have done when I was a police officer, maybe year 5 or 10, it's like, you know what? Maybe I need to go back to school and start learning something. Maybe learn another trade. Maybe advance your degree if you have one, or get a degree. Great padding. Great padding on your future. And then they have other lists going down. Differential pay, you get more second watch and third watch, 5.3%. Educational incentive pay for your intermediate and advanced post. What else? Field training officer, you get an extra 10%. SWAT officer, 3.5%. SWAT sniper, nice, 3.5%. Who wants to be a sniper? Wasn't there a sniper on the rookies?
I like to be a sniper.
TJ was the sniper, right?
How do you remember this stuff?
Oh, that was SWAT. I was either SWAT or the rookie. It was TJ because I wanted to be a sniper. I wanted to take my hat, point it backwards, get on a roof somewhere, and just be ready to plug someone. Emergency.
Now I'm a counselor.
That's right. What a change.
I'm watching you, Mike, as you read this list. Your smile gets bigger and bigger as you see all the great things about San Diego PD.
I'm just thinking back, and I would do it in a heartbeat again. I would do it all over again. I'm telling you. Accident Investigation Bureau, that was one thing I didn't want to do, and I wouldn't do.
I hated Trev. There's so many motors that love it. I couldn't figure out the east-west curve, whatever was measuring. Man. Math hates my guts, and I hate it right back.
Let's see. Canine unit. Yeah, I love that. I love training with them. I didn't really want a dog. Harbor unit, in-service training, longevity pay, detective, 5% plus a take-home vehicle while on call.
You know what you're doing right now, Mike? All these other agents, we're talking about leave the agency.
Yeah.
San Diego PD is going to get inundated and all these people, and they're going to point to this broadcast.
Exactly. Well, you know what? They're a good example. They really are a good example. I know other police departments around the country are good too. I know them personally. I've been there. I work really closely with them as of today even. Good people and a great peer support team, and they go around training other departments too. Not saying that they're better, but what they're doing really does work. And you're not just a number. I mean, you can look at it that way, but you know, you're a valuable asset not only to the department, to your partners, to your family members, to the people you contact on the street, all of that. You're valuable. Remember that. Don't degrade yourself, and don't, negative self-talk leads down that rabbit hole.
I have a challenge to the rookie audience out there, and this is it. Mike, you talked several of our podcasts ago about starting a peer support group. And I challenge the rookies that are listening, and the rookies that are listening across this country and even in some other countries that we've been made aware of. Start a peer support group. Start a probationary, first year support group, and then pass it on to the next generation coming up. And if you want to know how to start a peer support and you don't know how, contact the guy that I'm looking at right now across the country. You contact Mike Cook. Mike, tell him about peer support real quick and how they can contact you.
Well, this is where I say tune in for the next episode about how to start your own peer support group.
There you go.
So my name is Mike Koch, of course, and you can get a hold of me. You can give me a call. This is my cell phone number, 760-224-6631. PositiveConnectionsRadio@gmail.com to email me. You can find the program on Facebook, Positive Connections Radio, of course. And yeah, if you want to know how to start a group, if you're interested in what kind of things that are required, you'd be very surprised. It doesn't take that much. It takes dedication on the part of the people that are starting these meetings and groups up, and include everyone. That's the biggest thing. And be prompt. If you say you're going to have a group a certain hour on a certain day every week, do it every week, because you will lose credibility if you don't, and people won't go to the meetings. But if they know that every Wednesday at 7 p.m. there's going to be a Zoom meeting or a in-person meeting, maybe at your department, maybe just with the people that you work with at your department, make sure it's happening every Wednesday. And if not, give them plenty of notice of why it's not happening, and make sure the next week you pick it back up or get someone to replace you. So I have all the information on it. I will email you it. You can make it your own, but it's a general guideline, rules and regulations of a meeting, about crosstalk and everything else. But I got all that information for you. So get a hold of me. If not, we are down the road. We're gonna make another next show or 2 shows from now. We're gonna have one on your own support group. How's that, Jim?
Mike, it sounds awesome. Good job, Mike. So guys and gals that are rookies out there, really strongly take my challenge. Please consider it. Start your own support group. If you don't know how, again, contact Mike. The last piece, at the beginning of this, Mike, I talked about, we're going to end this on a positive note. Yes. Because there's so much. Once we start talking about, the pros and the cons of this job, there's a lot of things that are amazing first responders are going through, good and bad. And I want to give everybody out there a stress inoculation. And this comes right from the Army Medical Department Journal. It's got solid research and evidence into those people who prepare themselves for stressful events and those who do not. And they discovered to buffer against stress and to protect ourselves against stress-related disorders, chronic illnesses, one pathway towards stress resilience is aerobic fitness. We can significantly achieve greater calmness and better mood through aerobic fitness, for it's associated with many traits and attributes that are required for resilience. Folks, you've been hearing this bell rung forever. There's no getting around aerobic fitness. It's one way to protect ourselves from chronic illness and stress. And so Mike and I encourage you, if you need to, go get a full physical and discover a health and wellness plan that works for you. And also, never fight alone. Talking about things, connecting with others is vital in not just surviving, but thriving these careers. And, there is that great, and we'll talk more about this later, Mike, there's that great show called Survivor. And I always like to give them a hat tip because I love what they say on their logo, their trademark. It says, outwit, outlast, outplay. Right. And that's what Mike and I are here to encourage you to do.
Exactly, Jim. I love you, brother. And let's close it up. Everybody listening out there, I hope you got a lot out of this. Contact us. Let us know how you're feeling. Like our pages, Positive Connections Radio. Give Jim an email, a shout out. We're on YouTube also. You subscribe to it and stay updated. And Thank you all for listening.
And spread the word, everybody. We are so thankful that we have listeners all across the United States and some other countries. The wave is getting bigger and bigger. We're just thrilled and privileged to be here. Thank you for listening, and tell everybody about us.
And have a good week, a great day, and be nice to one another. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you for listening to Positive Connections Radio and our series, Halt and Call for Backup, Coast to Coast with Mike Koch and Jim McLintock. Positive Connections Radio is a part of the Mental Health News Radio Network. You can email us at positiveconnectionsradio@gmail.com 911therapy@gmail.com. Check out our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. Have a good rest of your day, and until next time, be strong, stand up, speak your truth, and break the stigma.